What's up, Anistos? It's the Russian dude. Let's get straight to the point, talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Okay, so you know how a lot of Z-Patriots and Z-propaganda itself, they still have these delusional ideas that Russia could have conquered Kiev in 3 days. Well, apparently the situation is exactly the same 2.5 years later after the beginning of this special military operation, because right here is the comment which says that, guys, I know what's the biggest problem of our army. The one and only reason why the Z army was not able to capture Kiev in 3 days, it is, guess what? Because of the weapons supply from the West. So, I know, I have a better idea than Minister of Defense of Shoigu, I mean at that time, right? Instead of focusing on Ukraine and Kiev, first of all, we should have attacked Germany, France, United Kingdom, all these Western countries which are now supporting weapons to Ukraine, and then whenever Ukraine will be left alone, all the other Western countries will be demolished and destroyed, there will be no more European Union, no NATO, nothing like this, then yes, then we will be able to capture Kiev in 3 days. Well, capturing Kiev in 3 days turned out to be for 2.5 years already, and still there is no certainty whether Russia will win or not. Most likely they will never win, obviously, evil never beats good, right? So Russia attacking the Western countries, NATO, alliances, unions, I highly doubt that this will be even more successful than whatever we're seeing right now. As always, enough with this ridiculous clownship. Now let's talk about some serious stuff, because recently looks like a pivotal moment happened, because Russian offensive capabilities completely cease to exist, to say the least. So let's talk about this very important topic right now. But first of all, unfortunately, I have to mention, recently, this last day, there were more attacks of Russians against civilian infrastructure around Ukraine. First of all, in Dnipro, a local shopping center was very much partially destroyed, to say the least, unfortunately. Civilians were eliminated and some of them were injured. Then in Kharkov region, a small settlement called Borve was also the result of a Russian attack. But fortunately, Ukrainian air defense was able to prevent even bigger disaster, intercepting 4 out of 4 Ha-59 Russian missiles, every single 5 Russian Shahed drones, 1 Orlan drone, but unfortunately only 1 out of 3 Iskander-K missiles. In response to that, Ukrainians, who obviously do not have a navy even close in comparison to the size and power of the Russian navy, power obviously quote unquote, but still Ukrainians are able to track, seek and destroy the remainders of the Black Sea Fleet. Long story short, right here is the video from Novorossiysk, presented to us by the Ministry of Defense of Russia, which shows them barely being able to defend against naval Ukrainian drones, which came all the way from Kherson region to Novorossiysk. Take a look at this map, this is extremely far, these are hundreds if not thousands of kilometers, which these drones had to pass, completely uninterrupted, unintercepted. The Ministry of Defense of Russia said every single one of them was intercepted, but somehow local residents did report some loud noises coming from Novorossiysk port. In Zaporozhye region, Ukrainians once again used simple FPV drones, and one of the biggest targets recently which they were able to destroy was the most modern T-90M Russian tank. Then we have couple videos from the territory of Russia. The very first one comes to us from Kursk, some loud noises were reported by local residents, and then another video also from Belgorod. As you can see, the smoke is the evidence that there was at least a fire, which is the result, could be as a result of Ukrainian drone attack. Well, apparently neither of those cases were related in any way to Ukrainians. Guess according to who? Exactly according to the Russian propaganda. But the situation is not the same in Donetsk. Here Russian propaganda could not lie, because literally a local ammunition warehouse was found and destroyed by Ukrainians, also using drones. In Klishivka, which is relatively close to Bakhmut frontline, Russians for some reason decided to restart their offensive, and well, one of their first attempts was absolutely miserably failed. They resulted in losing of at least 7 armored vehicles of different kinds. And then in Vovchansk, you already heard about this city, I'm 100% positive. Well, you already know that Russians were completely withdrawn from this city, they could not achieve anything. Let alone capturing the entire Kharkov front line, no, they could not even fully capture Vovchansk. Well, apparently for them this was not enough beating. Well, they came back and reportedly they sent 3 more assault groups to Vovchansk. Well, since then, not a single report came from this group, they went completely silent. I only can guess why. But the most important statement which was made recently came to us from America, which recently allowed, finally, Ukrainians to use Western ammunition, specifically ATACMS, on the territory of Russia and not just the very bordering regions, no. This time they said that you can strike targets deeper, much deeper inside Russia, up to approximately 100 kilometers inside its territory, which is approximately 65 miles. And as you know, Russians were hiding their military vehicles, military equipment relatively close to the borders, but not too far. Because, I mean, if it is way too far, it is easier for Ukrainians to intercept, because the area they have to cover, the drones that they have to fly, it's just more possibilities for Ukrainians to intercept them. So they were relatively close to the borders. Well, now they have to move them even further, at least 100 kilometers plus away from Russian-Ukrainian border, which significantly complicates the future hostilities from the Z army. And because of this, reportedly according to Western military experts, the offensive capabilities of Russians right now are close to zero. These are the 2 main points they are presenting. The point number 1 is that just in general, just along Ukrainian front lines, the army is not capable of achieving much progress at all. We literally talked about failed offensive like couple of minutes ago, right? And the point number 2 is that the only reason Russia was continuing this war the way it was, it is because they were attacking Ukrainian territory far behind front lines. Well, now since they have to move even further, the efficiency of these attacks will decrease even further. This is truly a pivotal moment, at least in my personal opinion. This announcement was only made less than 24 hours ago, so we're still yet to see the results of this statement. And ultimately, let's talk about Ukrainians who at this point they do look like they already want peace. No matter how much of a defending war they are doing, the righteous war they are doing, every single person, unfortunately, it is in human's nature to be tired of such things as so-called special military operations. So for this reason, Zelensky, first of all, he is now curious to see what Trump has to offer according to this Peace Plan 2.0. For example, right here is a very short part of one of the most recent Zelensky's interview, where he is saying that yes, if Trump has anything to offer, if Trump has anything to suggest both to Ukraine and Russia in terms of how these countries can achieve peace, Zelensky wants Trump to share the details of this so-called peace agreement with him as soon as possible. Because yes, obviously we still don't know who is going to be the next president of America, Biden, Trump, Kamala Harris, maybe even somebody else, but in case it is Trump, Zelensky wants to know in advance what kind of ideas he has in his mind, so that he has several months to prepare to respond accordingly. Next, we have even more statements about potential peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and this came to us from probably one of the most famous Ukrainian journalists, Dmitry Gordon. He's basically saying that Russian representatives, they gave this updated, let's call it like this, peace plan to America, which to be honest does not have that much significant differences from the previous one. And the main statements are the following. First of all, Russia keeps 2 occupied regions which they have right now, which are Luhansk and Donetsk. So as you can see, right now they are not trying to keep Kherson and Zaporozhye as well. They are ready to return those 2 regions. Next, a 100 kilometers demilitarized zone is proposed along Dnipro and around Black Sea area. Besides that, Ukraine will not be joining NATO, and the number of its soldiers in the Ukrainian army is limited to 350,000. Crimea, which to be honest is the most surprising point in this peace agreement, will be shared by Russians and Ukrainians, and ultimately America has to remove every single sanction it has against Russia. And even though more and more Ukrainians, they start feeling like, well, at least this, like we just want peace as soon as possible, a lot of representatives of Ukrainian authorities, they still are completely not budging, saying that not a single centimeter of our land will go to Russians as long as these are the requirements for peace. And just to prove with the statistics, right here I found a graph from one of Ukrainian Telegram channels, which was just asking regular Ukrainians, what do they think about these potential peace agreements? Well, apparently 45% of Ukrainians, they are ready to give up currently occupied territories in favor of keeping its sovereignty, independence, and the possibility to choose alliances such as, for example, European Union or NATO. And 26% of Ukrainians, they still want the Ukrainian army to continue fighting until victorious end, which results in regaining every single territory. So, as you can see, the number of people who want to have peace as soon as possible, almost no matter what are the conditions, as long as it is not worse than it is right now, well, the number of these people is now more than the ones who want to get everything back as it used to be. I'm not Ukrainian myself. I'm not here to judge or whether to agree or disagree with them. I'm only presenting you the statistics, guys. You please let us know down below in the comments whether do you think it's the correct way or no. And then right here is even more interesting graph, which shows that 47% of Ukrainians, also the very same regular people, they do think that if negotiations are happening between America and Russia, about peace obviously in Ukraine, without even the participation of Kiev representatives, this is okay for them, almost half of them. But 49% of people, they do think that Ukraine must participate in its own peace negotiations, which does make sense, and I do belong in this camp as well. I mean, how can you discuss peace of your own country and not even participate in these discussions? It just simply does not make sense. And finally, I want to quickly also talk about Putin, who looks like to start once again being afraid for his power, so he started literally disintegrating very influential and elite forces into much smaller units, because he's afraid of some kind of an uprising. Guys, let's talk about this right now on Patreon. This is an extra chapter, so if you want to continue watching, support the channel, and watch hundreds of uncensored photos and videos, please welcome to my Patreon, link is down below. Thanks so much. Very good way to support my work. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if this was interesting, informative, or both. You can check other useful links down below, my PayPal donations, Instagram, Patreon, and of course merch, hoodies, t-shirts, cases, shorts. Everything is down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.